Sunshine streams through the kitchen window as a young mom bustles about, keeping her house in order and her kids entertained. But a scene straight out of a nightmare shatters the ordinary. Neighbors spot a splash of crimson leading from the house, a trail of red ending at the driveway. Inside, the kitchen is a mess, signs of a struggle evident. The woman who lived there vanished, no trace. What happened in those heart-stopping moments? Did violence erupt, or was something else entirely at play?
The baffling disappearance of Joan Risch. Barbara and Joan chatted for a bit. She noted that Joan was in very good spirits, and nothing seemed to be bothering her.
I saw her run beside her car. I saw something red.
We don't really know if she was in a dangerous situation or unhappy.
Buckle up, because this case is a labyrinth of clues that go in circles. Mysterious sightings, evidence that contradicts itself. Get ready to dive into one of America's most perplexing mysteries. Born on a bright May day in 1930, Brooklyn Joan Carolyn Bard entered the world. Her early years were typical of children growing up in the 1930s. Her parents, Harold and Josephine Bard, seemed to offer a normal family life, but fate had something else planned for young Joan. When Joan was just 8, the family moved to Mountain Lakes, New Jersey, seeking a fresh start. However, tragedy struck in February 1939. While Joan visited relatives in Brooklyn, a fire ripped through the Bard household. This fire not only consumed their home, but also tragically took the lives of both Harold and Josephine. Talk about a shocking turn. Was it simply a terrible accident? The whispers started. The fire chief declared it accidental, but suspicion lingered like smoke in the air. An investigation couldn't find any foul play, but the fire was labeled suspicious. Losing her parents at such a young age, Joan's life took another unexpected turn. She went to live with her aunt and uncle, who lovingly adopted her. This kind act offered not just a roof over her head, but a whole new family. Even her name changed. She became Joan Natress. Years later, a friend would reveal a dark secret from Joan's childhood. Apparently, Joan had confided in them about being mistreated by her stepfather. This revelation added another layer of hardship to her young life. Determined to leave the past behind, Joan focused on her studies. In 1952, she graduated from Wilson College in Pennsylvania with a degree in English literature. You go, Joan. After college, Joan dived headfirst into the world of publishing. Starting as a secretary, she quickly climbed the ranks. Soon, she was managing other secretaries and even scored prestigious gigs as an editorial assistant at top publishing houses. Talk about a career woman on the move. But love had other plans. In 1956, Joan met Martin Risch, an executive at one of the companies she worked for. They fell in love and married, with Joan choosing to focus on starting a family. The Rischs settled into a comfortable life in Ridgefield, Connecticut. In 1957, their daughter Lillian arrived, followed by son David 2 years later. Life seemed idyllic for the Risch family. Then, in April 1961, they decided for a change of scenery. They packed up and moved to Lincoln, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. They quickly integrated into their new community, Joan joining the League of Women Voters while Martin pursued his career at a nearby paper company. The rooster crows and Martin Risch is out of bed before dawn. A business trip to New York City beckons. A quick peck on Joan's cheek, a hop in the car, and he's off to catch his 8 a.m. flight from Logan Airport. Little did he know, this routine goodbye would be their last. Back home, Joan tackles the morning routine like a pro. Kids wake up, breakfast is served, and then it's off to drop David at their friendly neighbor, Barbara Barker. With David settled, Joan and Lillian hop in their blue Chevy and head for a dentist appointment in Bedford. Who doesn't love a good teeth cleaning, right? After the dentist, because those details might come in handy later, Joan treats Lillian to a little shopping spree at a nearby department store. Remember, she pays in cash. This seemingly ordinary detail might hold more significance later. Returning to their picture-perfect suburban life, the milkman delivers the daily dairy, and the mailman drops off the mail. Everything seems normal, just another uneventful day, or so it seems. Around 11:15 a.m., Joan and the kids are back home. Soon after, a dry cleaner delivery guy swings by to pick up some of Martin's suits. A quick exchange, suits grabbed, and he's gone. Everything appears ordinary. Joan seems like her usual self, no cause for alarm. The delivery guy leaves, and Joan ditches her fancy dentist clothes for a comfy blue house dress and sneakers. Ah, the comfort of home. Lunchtime arrives, and Joan whips up something for the kids. Then it's nap time for David, that predictable afternoon nap that usually stretches until 2 p.m., like clockwork, right? At 1 p.m., Barbara brings her son Douglas over for a play date with Lillian. While the kids play, they see Joan tending to her plants, typical suburban mom chore. Here's where things take a strange turn. Just before 2 p.m., Joan takes the kids back to the Barkers. She assures them she'll be right back. Lillian later tells the police she didn't see anyone else around at the time. The kids are happily playing, oblivious to the life-altering events unfolding. Around 2:15 p.m., Barbara catches a glimpse of Joan, seemingly in a trench coat, hurrying up her driveway. Joan appears to be carrying something red, arms outstretched, moving towards the garage. Barbara assumes Joan might be chasing after one of the kids, not realizing this would be the last verified sighting of Joan Risch. But wait, there's more. An hour later, Virginia Keene spots an unfamiliar car in the area, a dirty, two-tone General Motors model, possibly blue. Interesting, right? Just 5 minutes later, another neighbor encounters a car backing out of a driveway, forcing them to stop. The plot thickens. At 4:30 p.m., Barbara returns home with Lillian, expecting Joan back from her quick errand. Finding the house empty, she walks in to discover a horrifying scene. A kitchen covered in a disturbing red substance. Alarmed, Barbara immediately calls the police at 4:33 p.m. Sergeant Mike McHugh wasted no time. Within 5 minutes of Barbara's frantic call, he was at the Risch house. Stepping inside, he was met with a scene ripped from a movie, not a pleasant one. The kitchen was a disaster zone. Red smears marred the walls, a table lay overturned like a child's tantrum gone nuclear, and the phone cord dangled uselessly, its receiver ripped from the wall and tossed into the trash. McHugh's initial thought was a grim one. Had Joan harmed herself? A frantic search of the house yielded nothing. It was clear this was bigger than a one-man show. McHugh called for reinforcements, realizing they might need the entire department on deck for this mystery. Meanwhile, the Lincoln police were playing a frustrating game of phone tag with local hospitals, hoping for any sign of Joan. Barbara, on her end, contacted Martin's company to locate him. When the Massachusetts State Police delivered the news, it was a call no husband wants to receive on a business trip. Back at the crime scene, the investigation kicked into high gear. 4 unopened letters sat neglected in the mailbox. In the kitchen, the phone book lay open to the emergency numbers page, untouched, as if someone was interrupted in the act of dialing for help. Desperate for answers, the police contacted Martin. He confirmed the empty liquor bottle was from the night before, but the empty beer bottles, those were a complete mystery. A glimmer of hope emerged when they found Joan's dentist coat hanging at home. Yet, a simpler coat was missing. Her purse was also there, and a closer look revealed less than $10, hardly enough to vanish and start a new life. Just when things seemed bleak, the investigation took a fascinating turn. The neighbors, eager to help, began offering a flurry of possible sightings. One person claimed to see a woman resembling Joan, hunched over and disheveled, walking along Route 2A towards Concord at 2:45 p.m. Another reported spotting a woman matching Joan's description on the median strip of Route 128 in Waltham between 3:15 and 3:30 p.m., with something red running down her legs and clutching her stomach. It was a chilling image, a woman in distress, seemingly vanishing into thin air. And if that wasn't enough, yet another witness reported seeing a woman matching Joan's description walking south along Route 128 near Trapello Road around 4:30 p.m. The sightings weren't limited to Joan. The mysterious car Virginia Keene saw earlier, The milkman recalled seeing a similar car parked at the Risch house just 5 days prior. Another neighbor reported a blue two-toned car parked nearby, with a man suspiciously cutting branches from the woods. Yet another witness mentioned a light blue Ford parked along the same street at 2:45 p.m. The first responders were confronted with a scene straight out of a nightmare. Crimson stained the kitchen walls and floor, a grotesque splash of color that seemed to mock any attempt at explanation. But the truly chilling detail, even with all this apparent blood, investigators couldn't decipher the events that unfolded. The red smeared its way across everything: walls, floors, even the phone, a gruesome reminder of a struggle. 3 unidentified bloody fingerprints taunted them. Were they Joan's? Someone else's? The mystery deepened. A roll of paper towels lay discarded on the floor, one sheet crumpled and stained, hinting at a desperate attempt at cleanup. And then came the most disturbing discovery: little David's clothes, his coveralls and underwear, marred with blood. The coveralls, in particular, appeared flattened, as if a heavy weight, perhaps a body, had rested upon them. The police offered a theory. The blood in the kitchen didn't suggest a fight, but rather someone injured, stumbling and trying to stay upright. But theories were a dime a dozen at this point. The horror wasn't confined to the kitchen. A trail of blood, a macabre game of connect the dots, led from the kitchen. A single drop on the first step, 2 more at the top, a chilling progression leading to 8 drops in the master bedroom and 1 near the children's room window. As if that wasn't enough, another trail snaked its way from the kitchen to the driveway, culminating at Joan's car. Blood-stained 3 distinct locations: the right rear fender, the hood near the windshield, and the center of the trunk. The scene painted a disturbing picture, a blood-soaked mystery. The investigators were at a loss. Where did the bleeding begin? Upstairs, the kitchen, the driveway? They were like children grappling with an incomplete puzzle. Was Joan forced into another car, or did she leave on her own? The blood trail to the car offered a possibility, but nothing was certain. Adding another layer to the bewilderment, despite the copious amounts of blood and signs of movement within the house, there were no bloody footprints, no traces. It was as if the perpetrator defied gravity or possessed an uncanny ability to avoid leaving any incriminating marks. Then came the results of the blood test. Type O, a common blood type, and coincidentally, Joan's type as well. However, despite the scene resembling a horror movie set, the total amount of blood recovered amounted to a mere half pint, less than what you donate at a blood drive. It was a jarring detail amidst the carnage. Serene Gerson, a reporter with an insatiable curiosity from the Lincoln Fence Viewer newspaper, decided to delve deeper. She headed to the town library, ostensibly for background information on Joan's disappearance. Imagine her surprise when she checked out a book about Brigham Young's missing wife, a real cliffhanger, no doubt, and discovered Joan's signature on the checkout card. Our missing woman had borrowed this very book just a month before vanishing. But the plot twist didn't stop there. Serene picked another book titled Into Thin Air, a story about a... Meanwhile, the police, unwilling to be outsmarted by a bunch of reporters and library enthusiasts, decided to pursue a new lead: Robert Foster from East Walpole. Foster, employed by the National Park Service, had been visiting homes in the area, chatting about transforming the neighborhood into a historical park. Seemed harmless enough, right? Well, some of the local ladies found Foster a tad too friendly, suggesting he may have overstayed his welcome. Records showed Foster had visited the Risch residence on September 25th, just a month before Joan vanished. Coincidence? The police weren't taking any chances. A week after Joan's disappearance, they brought Foster in for questioning. He maintained his innocence, claiming a lunch date with his boss around 1 p.m. on the day Joan disappeared. By 3 p.m., he stated he was back in Lincoln, meeting with a property appraiser. His alibi was backed by his boss, and supposedly corroborated by a couple of engineers who were supposedly in the office around 3 p.m. The initial flurry of activity eventually died down. The state police, the town of Lincoln, and even the Boston Record-American offered rewards for any information that could unlock the secrets of Joan's disappearance. But all their efforts yielded nothing, not a single credible lead. Martin Risch, ever the devoted husband and father, held on to hope. He continued living in the same house, raising their children with unwavering strength. Remarkably, he never filed for Joan to be declared legally dead. Fast forward to 1975, and the National Park Service reappeared, their historical park plan back on track. They purchased the Risch property, along with others in the area. They even relocated the Risch house, brick by brick, to a new location in Lexington. Martin, ever adaptable, simply moved to a different house nearby. Now let's delve into the heart of the matter, the theories. People have come up with some doozies over the years. One popular theory suggests Joan meticulously planned her entire disappearance, inspired perhaps by the mystery novels she devoured. Maybe she craved an escape from her suburban life. It's a possibility, but without concrete evidence, it remains just that, a theory. However, Joan's college friend, Sabra Morton, vehemently rejected this notion. She described Joan as content with her life. "I think it's highly unlikely Joan is still alive," Morton told the Boston Globe in 1996. She would never have abandoned her family willingly. Her words cast a shadow of doubt on the escape plan theory. Another theory emerged in the 1990s, suggesting Joan might have met with an unfortunate accident. Perhaps she wandered onto the construction site for Route 128, confused and disoriented. Unable to find her way out, she could have become trapped, eventually buried beneath the completed highway. A grim possibility, but again, entirely speculative. Martin clung to his own belief. On the rare occasions he spoke about Joan, he held on to the hope that she might still be alive somewhere, suffering from amnesia, like something ripped from a soap opera. However, there was no history of forgetfulness in Joan's family, making this theory a long shot. Leo Algeo, the police chief who spearheaded the initial investigation, never gave up hope. Even after his retirement in 1970, he continued digging, the case a constant weight on his mind. "I always thought they'd find a body or some remains," he confided to the Globe. "People don't just vanish without a trace." His words reflected his unwavering belief that the truth would eventually come to light. Algeo himself harbored a theory. He kept it close to the vest. He would only say, "Things do turn up eventually." His cryptic statement left room for speculation, but offered no concrete answers. So what can we make of all this? Was Joan a master of disguise who vanished without a trace? Did she succumb to a tragic accident? Or is there another explanation entirely, one that continues to elude us? One thing is certain, Joan Risch's case has baffled investigators and the public alike for over 50 years. It's a real-life mystery with no clear ending, a story that continues to captivate true crime enthusiasts. Perhaps someday, a new piece of evidence will emerge, a missing puzzle piece that unlocks the truth behind Joan's disappearance. Until then, the case of Joan Risch serves as a reminder that sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. As you browse the shelves of your local library or travel down Route 128, remember Joan's story, because somewhere out there, the answer to this enduring mystery waits to be discovered. And who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to crack the case. Keep your eyes peeled, your mind open, and remember, the truth is always out there, waiting to be found.